The 2023 presidential election may have come and gone, but the reactions trailing the electoral process have been the major talking point since the completion of the election. The ruling All Progressives Congress APC candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared winner on Wednesday by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. However, opposition parties have expressed dissatisfaction with the election, which they have called fraudulent. Tinubu defeated former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. Also speaking in a State of the Nation address on Wednesday, Omoyele Sowore said the 2023 presidential election did not meet any legal requirements of what should be called a free, fair, and credible election, and that the result does not reflect the will of the people. Joining us now on the show this morning to discuss the presidential election and INEC's conduct of the electoral process is Omoyele Sowore, presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC. Welcome to the morning show, Omoyele Sowore. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well,
thank you.
Very simple question after that introduction is simply to ask you, our market after the election. You are already on record as saying... Hello? No.
Well, I didn't participate in any marketing. You know, we went for an election, not any market.
Well, I mean, when I say our market, it's in a manner of speaking. You were presidential candidate of the AAC. You've been told you scored 608 votes in that election, almost about half of your performance in the 2019 general elections. And you have said you reject the result. Are you, like the Labour Party and the PDP and the NMPP, going to court? That's why I asked you, our market, was market good? Was it bad? And why? One way or the other.
Dr. Abati, I remember in 2019, after the election of 2019, I came on your show and did reveal that they no longer hold elections in this country, that what they held in 2019 was a selection. This is exactly what happened again in 2023. You cannot be reeling out numbers of any candidates when an election did not hold. If election didn't hold according to the laws establishing an election, you cannot determine, you can't declare a winner, you can't determine losers. That is just simple logic. So ruling out numbers in 2019 in an election that was fraudulent and that of 2023 in an election that is fraudulent, we are making the same mistakes all over and over again. That's why I did not respond to your how market joke. This is not a joke anymore. This country's people have been taken for granted for too long, and we shouldn't be joking about it, because when people go out for elections, they mean serious business. You know, they leave everything behind. They go and queue up, and they expect results that tallies with their aspirations. They don't go to elections simply because they want allocated numbers to be repeated on TV. And that is why I was shouting before the election happened that INEC was not prepared for elections, and I've not seen any sign. I said it several times. I went to the National Assembly. Nobody wanted to listen to me then. But now that it has happened to everybody, everybody's coming out and saying, well, this is a fraudulent election. So we should not call what is not an election an election. This is another selection. That's a better improvement of what they did in 2019. How is it a better improvement? I mean, on the negative side, is because this time around, they managed to fool even those who thought elections were going to happen. In places like Lagos, they abandoned Lagos for them while they were rigging election elsewhere, so that you have that feeling that, oh yes, you know, this is a free and fair election. If we can have opposition defeat, you know, the regulars on their turf, this is an election. No, it wasn't. It was a strategy and a tactic meant to fool those who get easily fooled by this. I'm experienced in these matters for 30 years, and it's a shame that today Nigeria has not improved in any way. Even the international community partners who usually come to endorse these elections walked away with their tails in between their legs. They couldn't say anything. They only resorted to saying what they're used to. Well, the election wasn't free, wasn't fair, but you know, it was an election. So please, guys, accept it, because we got to keep the plantation going.
All right, so what has come under a lot of criticism is the presidential election. There have been reports of beavers not being used in some places to upload results from the polling units, hence the issue around credibility of the results. However, there were other elections that held on the day. We had the National Assembly elections, House of Representatives and Senate. In terms of an evaluation of how AAC performed, were there seats that you won, local government, just in terms of, because what the ruling party has argued is that, well, you had some seats beyond the Lagos State being won by other parties, so it was fair. How would you assess your performance at the polls? Your party's performance?
The logical conversation I'm having with you is not whether people who are not discerning accepted some results or rejected some results. No. We are saying I did not participate in other polls. I participated in the presidential election. And almost all the parties, except the parties that claim they won, have said this is not a credible election. I don't know why we keep arguing about performance in some elections when, as a matter of fact, we had an election that was totally flawed and fraudulent. There is no way around it. And this channel, this Arise TV News, has been working on overdrive since the election ended to prove to the world that elections did not hold. So are you saying that because I did not win in an election that did not happen, I should celebrate those who won by hook or crook, or who were allocated positions? You know, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you the truth. You're talking about beavers. I was shouting about beavers before election, that the beavers that I saw, the INEC servers that I tested, was not going to be able to handle the election. I have evidence out there. There's videos of this. But my videos don't make it to your social media videos in the mornings because you don't probably like what I have to say. But that's not the problem. The problem is now that we are all in the same boat. We have come to the realization that the wheels are off, and there is no point coming here to divide or split here by saying maybe some people won. If beavers, there's only one beavers that conducted all the elections, presidential, Senate, House of Reps. If it didn't work for presidential and it worked for Senate, is it not the same beavers? Or are you saying that the beavers that was used in Osun State is the same beavers that was used everywhere, which produced two results? This is what we should be dealing with, not to be hair splitting by saying, oh, so because some people won now, you know, let's say because a party won in Lagos and it wasn't the main party, do you accept the results? No. So if you are accepting the result of those who won, you are saying that you accept the results of the election. That's why we are different. This is why we are not participating in the deceit by the main parties, you know, because all of them are the same. You know, that's why in the last 48 hours since the election happened, you'll be hearing all kinds of conflicting, you know, responses. You know, Nigeria is at a point, you know, that Marx described as dialectical materialism, where social forces, political forces, and other forces in contradiction are defining solutions. But these solutions are not revolutionary in our context. And that's why we have made it very clear that election did not happen. Don't tell me that election happened in one market and somebody won, and in another space, there was no election. There's only one election that was supposed to be organized on Saturday. The elections did not happen. It did not meet any of the conditions set up by the Constitution. It didn't meet the regulations set up by INEC. It didn't meet the expectations of the public. It wasn't an election. It was a selection. So that's the truth.
Okay, Sowore, you said, oh, we don't show your video because maybe we have a problem with what you have to say. No. We don't have any problem with whatever anybody wants to say. It's an open platform.
No, the reason I'm saying so is that when I was talking about, I even came to a station a week before the election. I had a video talking about, at the National Assembly, where I delivered a message to the National Assembly, the election committee there, that INEC servers cannot handle this election. I also went to INEC meeting and had a recording that I shared with everyone that INEC servers cannot work. In fact, some of the political parties, including those of the opposition who are now complaining, were in that meeting and they were praising the INEC chairman, that he was the best thing to happen to Nigeria since peanut butter was invented. And I said, no, I said in that meeting, but this was not made, I made it available to the press, but it was never played, that you, INEC chairman, forget about all these people that are praising you, work on the election. If you know the elections are not going to work according to the standards expected of the election, cry out now. That was where I asked him to turn into an activist. It was never played. You know, I sent it to, I said it, I broadcast it and said it to everybody in the media. It was never played because we were covering up the INEC chairman, and now we have all come to judgment. Okay, not here though. I mean, and that's why you are here, so that you can have your say. No, if there's evidence I was played on Arise TV, at least we can find it. It wasn't played here.
We don't, you know, cover up anything. Part of our responsibility is to defend the people's right to know. But I asked you a question earlier on. I said, are you going to go to court? Some of the parties, the other aggrieved parties, have been talking about collaboration. Waziri Atiku Abubakar was talking about Labour Party coming together with the PDP and all of that. Are you going to join other political parties to go to court to challenge what you consider a fraudulent election? Or you do not have any faith in the court system, you just protest and allow the matter to rest? What's the way forward?
What you are saying regarding the Labour Party and the PDP is what people like us have always said, that they are the same. We are not part of that coalition or alliance. And with regards to the courts, when somebody steals your thing, you can retrieve it from him, and he says, no, don't retrieve it from him, go to court. You have to wait for the courts to convene. But the court that gave you a governor that was fought in Imo State is not likely to be a court that I will be heading to when I'm cheated on this scale. The court that hasn't delivered justice to people like me since I was born in this country is not the court I can tell you that I have implicit or explicit confidence in. If we go to court, you can almost determine what will be the outcome of the courts. The courts in Nigeria have never nullified the presidential election. Even in 2007, when they conducted an election in which there were no serial numbers in the ballot papers, the courts declared that you don't need serial numbers. And the person for whom the election was rigged by President Olusegun Obasanjo, that's Yaradua, came out and said, these elections were problematic, but he accepted the booty regardless. So I do not think we are going to head to a court that may not be able or hasn't delivered justice in similar matters for us. I think the reason they're asking people to go to court is to calm down the nerves of Nigerian people so that they accept this rubbish as a fait accompli, and they make sure that there are no uprisings on the streets to retrieve back the stolen mandate, whatever fraudulent election they conducted. That's the reason they direct you to the courtrooms, because they know what the outcome will be, because we also know how this these courts are constituted by political parties in power. So we can't be here deceiving ourselves. I know you're a lawyer, and you can't say publicly that you don't believe in the courts, otherwise you will not have a job.
All right, Mr. Sowore, so if you're not going to the court to seek redress, which has been said to be the way to go, and the main opposition parties, PDP and Labour Party, have said they'd be taking that route, what are you going to do? In 2019, you responded with Revolution Now, which is still, quite contentious. And now, even people have observed that you sound a bit solemn, which is not at par with your usual energy, fervent and articulate submission. Are you saying that you're defeated and you're not, you've just given up on Project Nigeria? What are the next steps of action?
You don't know me enough to know if I'm fallen. This is my usual demeanor and appearance, and those who know me will tell you not to be deceived by it. And I don't think I have ever. The day after the election, do you know what was trending on Twitter? Revolution Now. But in 2019, when I similarly came here wearing a beret, I was ridiculed, for calling for a revolution. Now people have realized that only a revolution can solve these myriads of problems of Nigeria. People cheating you and shoving you in different institutions where they have absolute control will not get you to promised land. That's the truth. I am not forlorn. I'm completely committed to a revolutionary outcome in the Nigerian project system. And this is what I keep telling people. Even when we participate in these elections, I've said it openly, it is to show to those whose eyes have not opened the internal contradictions of the system, so that you can understand that these people are not willing to get you liberated anytime soon on their own terms. Even when you say you are obedient, they don't accept obedience, except they are able to get your obedience by way of force or trickery. And that's what they have done in this case. So you're obedient, fine, we love you. But we'll cheat you and place our boots on your head. That's not who we are. We have a revolutionary party and a revolutionary movement in place that will keep making these decisions about the destination that we believe in, and that we hope others have now seen clearly. That is why we were warning our colleagues who were excited about this whole arrangement with the major political players in Nigeria, that a sheep leading an army of lions is heading to no destination.
Well, let me ask you. We have done the presidential election, the National Assembly elections on March 11. We have the gubernatorial and state houses of assembly election. What do you think is likely to be the impact of what transpired on February 25 on the subsequent elections in this country? Will AAC still come out full force to be part of that process? You having concluded that what happened on February 25 was just selection, not an election. Are we going to have voter apathy? Are we going to have your party saying, look, we don't want to be part of this process, let them go and select whatever they want? And what will be the overall implications for the democratic project in Nigeria?
Well, I don't think that the democratic project in Nigeria should be used to blackmail Nigerians or gaslight them. If the democratic project has failed on its own terms, Nigerians are at liberty to choose whether they continue in it or not. And in that case, our political party will make a decision, because I'm talking to you as a presidential candidate. The party is different in this regard, and I cannot take a decision on their behalf right here on your show. So if the party decides that the other candidate should continue in the project, it's not something that will overrule. But what you should know is that in terms of voter apathy, they had forced voters into an apathetic situation, pathetic situation when they did their Naira redesign policy. That's where this whole rigging started. How do you disenfranchise people by separating them from their legally earned currency, by saying that you have no right to take your money out of the bank? The applications that transfer money is no longer work in this country. People are queuing up from their own money. And we're all celebrating it, that, oh, this is going to stop rigging of election. Now, the people you claim will not have access to money have rigged the election, which was what we were saying, that they never had problem with getting money. They were just distracting you by saying, oh, this is to stop rigging. This is an election that was used. The deception was massive, and people fell for it. Even the parties that are complaining were happy that people had no money. Now they've discovered that people who said you don't need your money knew what they were doing, because they needed that there were not as many participants in this election as we should be. And that's not what anybody's talking about. You have over 80,000 owners of PVCs, people who had the poverty verification card, as I like to call it. Only 30% of them came out to vote. And then, to be honest, the numbers that you are seeing were all bogeys from across the country. That's why I'm not celebrating the election. I cannot pick one side of the election as legit and then say the other parties. It's a totally flawed process. And there's nothing to celebrate. Of course, people are not going to be happy to go to the election. This is demoralizing. And they did it on purpose, and they have achieved that objective. I don't see how people will troop out again, except if they are, of course, bribed to do so in large numbers in the subsequent elections. We just can't sit here and deceive ourselves.
All right, well, just to ask very quickly, because you still didn't quite answer with regards to the question I asked you earlier as to your next move. I know you've said you've spoken vaguely, but your supporters and those who contributed to your campaign are watching, and it would be great to hear you speak as to what the concrete next steps are. And then beyond that, the other parties are claiming that they won the election. So Labour Party candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, has said he won the election. The same with Waziri Atiku Abubakar. What is your claim in this particular election? Did you win? You said the votes were not yours. So what is your claim in this particular election? Briefly, please.
My claim is clear. You cannot be dilly-dallying about who won and who didn't win when an election was not properly conducted. Elections are supposed to be free, fair, and credible. You know, somebody cannot claim he won in an election that has been described as a shambolic election and a sham. So where's the victory going to take you when you said the elections did not meet the standards of an election? I think these are just, words that are used to comfort so that people will not, if you won the election, then it should be able to be declared as a winner. That's a logical thing to do. So if you didn't win the election, then you didn't win. So you can't accept half of the election and reject half of the election if an election did not hold. What I'm telling you is that as I'm sitting here today, I'm not claiming that I won or lost because I did not experience what could be called an election. I'm a candidate. I'm one of the 18 candidates in this country. We went into meetings and it was explained to us what the election should look like, how the polling unit should be transmitted to the server, and how you can view it in real time. There is an electoral act that defines how this election should hold. None of these conditions were met. It's not my issue to determine how people describe, in semantics, whether they won or not. That's their right. Nobody should blame anybody. Nobody should mock anybody for that. What I'm here to tell you, and I'm not vague about it, I don't know how you came about that I'm vague, is that there was no election. This is a selection process. Any election that had the wrong person declared as the winner of the election is not an election. Any election that did not meet the legal positioning of an election is not an election. Any election in which polling unit results were not transmitted as prescribed by law, their own law. I didn't make the law. It's not an election. So what is vague about that? So the fact that some candidates, all the candidates are claiming they won. The one that was declared said they won. The one that was declared as second said he won. The one that declared as third said he won. That's not my problem. That's their own decision. My own position is very, very clear that if you didn't hold an election, you can't declare a winner and you can't declare losers. That's as simple as that.
Well, on that note, we would like to thank you very much, Omoyele Sowore, presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC. Thank you very much indeed.